Welcome back, everybody. Sorry it's been a couple of weeks. Life kind of gets crazy with kids and work and everything you have to do daily. So, it's time for me to do my nails again. It's been a couple of weeks. So, since fall is in a couple of days, I wanted to go ahead and get this going. So, here again is the first step. Of course, y'all know I love Peppy Gel, so I decided to do Peppy Gel again this week. So I'm going in with my first layer. This is going to be the clear layer. This is just going to be basically the layer that is just going to keep that barrier from your nail getting any staining from the colored dip powders. So that bottle of liquid there has a number 1 on it. So there's 3 steps in the Peppy Gel system. So this number 1 is basically the adhesive. So we're basically going to use the number 1 bottle for all of the dip powders to be able to adhere to the nail. So you want to go ahead and do this first step to every single nail. Now, however many layers you want to do of the clear for the first step is up to you. Just remember, even though powder is very fine, the more layers you do, the thicker it is going to be on the nail. So I only do 1 layer of clear before I start doing my colors and my designs. But again, however many layers of clear you decide to do is up to you. And here is what the nails look like with just that first layer of clear. Now I did off camera go ahead and just take a coarse brush and brush all that excess powder off. So I'm going in with the number 1 step again, and this is where we start our design. So again, do not go all the way to the cuticle with this first layer of color because you don't want the powder at the cuticle to be very thick. You just want that layer thin. So I'm just putting a small layer of the first step down, and you just want to make sure you cover every single inch of that nail. You don't want anything missed. And right here, this is what the nail looks like with just that first layer of clear with another layer of adhesive on top. And it stays wet, it doesn't dry, so you're going to have some time to be able to put your nail into the powder. So you just go in there at an angle, or you can just lay it flat right on top like a blanket would, just like evenly flat right on top if you want to. I'm stirring this powder up just because I haven't used it in a while and I don't want to have any clumps or lumps in the design of the nail. Shake off as much of that excess as I can. And this is what that color looks like, that first little layer. So this color is called Tractor Rides, and it's got that smallest bit of shimmer in it, but it's a nice cool tone brown that I really, really like. So we're going to go into that number 1 bottle again, and I'm going to apply that to the nail. And again, do not go all the way to the cuticle. And put a nice thin layer down and make sure you cover the whole entire nail. If you miss some spots, I still do to this day, you're going to be able to cover those missing spots when you do your second or third layer of powder. Just remember, each layer you do, it's going to be thicker and thicker and thicker. And this dip powder that I'm going into now is called Love Coffee. And it's got an iridescent pink, mahogany, brown, black shimmer to it. It's a beautiful color. So that's why I chose the brown and the black. And I know that color to the left of the black is coming up red, but it's a burgundy type reddish color. It's not a true red. All right, so I'm going to go again with that number 1 step on my middle finger. Again, just making sure to cover the whole entire nail. And I'm going to go into this mahogany red color, and this is called Little Miss Thankful. And I just like to tap my finger on the side of the bottle there just to get a little bit of that excess off as I can. Now, I wanted to do a V design on my ring finger. So I'm going into the French pink color. So what that's going to do is going to be like a French manicure, or, you know, things like that that you do with acrylic. So it's just going to give you that nice pink color to the nail bed that is naturally there, instead of having just like a clear down or an off-white. I mean, you could do anything really, but I like the French pink, so it gives that nail its natural color. And I just covered the whole entire nail there just to make sure the nail design was even. If I did just the nail bed and then nothing else, when I started to do the V design, it would be uneven. So then I would have to, you know, do a couple of more layers to make it even, if that makes sense. So just go ahead and cover the whole entire nail with the French pink, and it'll eventually be even when you go to put your V design on with the color. And then on my pinky, I did the tractor rides again. And I'll show you why here in just a minute. Take a little brush or a coarse brush, whatever you want, and kind of brush off the excess powder. Now, I will say I use a coarse, really rough brush for the glitters just to make sure I get all the excess glitter off. And then I use a separate brush for my matte colors, if you want to say, that don't have any shimmer. And that's why to the left of my hand, right in front of that fish brush, you'll see 2 bottles of clear. One I kind of use for glitters only because, again, when you go to dip the powder in the clear, you're going to get some glitter that's going to fall out. So I use one for my glitters and one for my matte powders, just so I don't get any shimmer on my matte designs. Alright, so I'm going in now with the second layer of the number 1 step, and this time I decided to go all the way to the cuticle. Now, if colors are very opaque, I don't do 3 layers of color, because when you do the very, very last layer, which is the clear again, just to encapsulate the design, that's going to be your 3rd layer. So again, if my colors are very opaque and I don't have to have a lot to really see a good payoff, I'll just do 1 or 2 coats and keep it moving. So this is going to be my last dip for this nail design. Especially for glitters. If I'm using glitters, I'm only going to do 1 or 2 coats at the max, because it just gets too bulky and you're going to be filing forever. Okay, so now we're at the pinky. So anytime I do an ombre, I will put the first layer of color down, which is going to be my base. Always put just the whole entire nail one color. And then when you go in for your second layer, you're going to then do your ombre. So I'm going to go in with the brown, and then I'm going to kind of fade it into a dark black at the bottom. So I get a small detailer brush or a little fluffy brush, whatever works best for you. And you're just going to pick up some of that powder with that brush and kind of tap it over the nail. And then that kind of gives you that gradient effect where you go from a brown to a deeper, deeper, deeper color towards the end of the nail. And y'all have seen me do this before in my previous videos. It's just something that, it's a different look. Sometimes I like to do the same design on every nail, but not always. It's very, very rare that I do that. I really like having something different on every nail. So now I'm going to go back and forth between the brown and the black, the brown and the black. And that'll eventually give you a good fade. You'll see when I show you the design in a minute. You get a harsh line the very first time you do the ombre. So you have to go back again and just make that fade even more clean. And here are the nails after I've kind of finished all of the color to this point. So now I'm going to go in with the V design. And I kind of learned this off of YouTube and just watching other people with their dip powders. So I'm going to take the Love Coffee color and I'm going to go into the dip powder at an angle. So I'm going to dip my hand to the side. See, and it gives you a V effect. And then I'm going to dip it again to the side. And you just end up with that nice V shape on the end of the nail. See? It looks very clean. And you can kind of go back and forth. If it's not even, you can go back and forth. Just make sure you dip your finger to the side each time, and you'll just get a nice V effect. And then I'm going to fill in the rest of the nail that I haven't covered yet with that French pink, and that'll make that one even layer of color. So right here I noticed the fade wasn't as clean as I wanted it to be, so I'm just going to put a little dab of that adhesive in the middle of those two colors, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of color and make that fade just a little bit more clean. You don't have to do the whole entire nail all over again. You can kind of just clean up that line where those two meet just a little bit better. And then once I see that it starts to dry and really adhere, I'll take a little bit more powder on that brush. And I'll really press that into the nail and try to get a good blend there. That's what I love about powder. It's so easy to work with, and it's so easy to fix a mistake. If you make a mistake, just go over the entire nail again with the adhesive and dip it again. And then when you go to file, boom, all those mistakes are gone. With acrylic and just regular nail polish, it's so hard to fix whenever you make an error. I think when it comes to manicures, gel and dip powder is the way to go. All right, you guys, so this is the last step when it comes to creating the design. I'm just taking that number 1 liquid again, and I'm going to go into that clear, and that's just going to encapsulate the whole entire design. So this is what the nails look like once they're encapsulated with that one layer of clear on top just to close everything in. So I'm going to go ahead and do my other nails. So here is the other hand done and encapsulated and all set to go. So now we're at our number 2 step, and this is the activator. So you're going to apply that activator to every single finger. You can do a little, you can do a lot. It's totally up to you. Oh, I got to brush off some excess powder there. Get all that off of there. And I'm telling you, you need a coarse brush. You need something hard to get in those crevices to get all that powder out. I keep a towel on my lap because it just goes everywhere. So just take that activator and apply it to the whole entire nail. And after you apply it to every single nail, you're going to let that sit for 2 minutes. And then we'll be right back. And then you file, file, file. And then you buff, buff, buff. And what buffing does, it just takes away all those scratches and all the proof of you filing, basically. And it just gives it a nice, smooth finish. Okay, so after filing and buffing, again, you're going to apply the number 2 activator. And you're going to apply it to every single nail from the cuticle all the way down. And again, you're going to let that sit for 2 minutes. Okay, guys, we are almost at the finish line. So with Peppy Gel, that activator leaves a residue. So before we do our last step, you have to remove that residue with a paper towel. So just make sure you rub and rub and rub and get, you'll feel it. It's kind of like a resistance that you feel on the nail. And as soon as you start rubbing after a few seconds, it feels like silk. It's real smooth. And that's when you know you can move on to the next step. All right, guys, and here are the nails after I've rubbed all the activator off. And on my pinky, as you can see, it's no longer red and black. I did not like how that fade went. It didn't fade at all, really. I tried to go back and forth to try and get that fade real clean. But those colors just didn't fade well at all. So I just went over the entire nail again. I just dipped it once into the black color and it covered up that red altogether. And I just went with that. So now we're going to go into our third step. So this third step is our top coat. So again, like I've said in all my previous videos with Peppy Gel, that first layer of the number 3 step, you have to wipe that brush off between every single finger. So you're going to apply that number 3 top coat, and you're immediately going to wipe that brush off. Go to the next nail, apply that number 3 top coat, wipe the brush off. And do that to every single finger. You wipe that brush off. And then when you go to your second layer of the number 3 top coat, you do not have to wipe that brush off again. You're good to just do your top coat as normal. So after you apply that number 3 step, you're going to wait for 2 minutes and then it is totally dry. You can go on about your day. So here is the final result. And I think it turned out great. I love the colors. I'm so ready for fall. And I think it looks very elegant. I really do like it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned a little bit of something. And I hope to see y'all next time. Thanks, guys.